I now declare the draft of 2025 open. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Takle Talk Network. And today we are going to be going over some possible, please, I hope that at least 80% of this list gets drafted, draft list that the Kansas City Chiefs, my main team, could possibly pick from and draft from. Now, throughout this video, I'm going to break it down into different sections. First, we've got the section where it's like the first round trade up window. If there's a player on this list, basically that means that if this player falls beyond, I think I have it written down as pick 23 or later to pick 30. This is a player that the Chiefs say, hey, we're going to give up some extra draft capital to ensure that we land this player. Now, just saying, most of these players, at least in the first two rounds, first two sections of this list, could go anywhere from like pick 10 on down to like pick 31. So, or into the second round even. So, I got a few players in the first round trade up options. Then next we've got a sit and pick section. So what that means is like the Chiefs sit at pick number 31 and they just pick a player that's best available from that perspective. Depending on who that is, there could be a couple of players from the first round trade up section that actually fall all the way to the Chiefs, and I'll get to that here in a little bit, that they could end up in the sit and pick options, but I made sure that there was brand new players in every single section for you guys. Next, you have the remaining top 100 picks, because the Chiefs, after their first round pick, have three more picks in the top 100 with picks 63, 66, and 95, all in the top 100. Some good quality players are going to be drafted in those spots. Next, I've got the later section, or the section where things could get on later in the draft, like picks or rounds 4, 5, 6, and 7. I only have like 5 players in that section, and those are just some players that I think are a very, very high quality players. I think all these players in the NFL draft have the talent and what it takes to be in the NFL. It just depends on what scheme and what team they're drafted to. So I looked at the Chiefs. I looked at some other sources like the Kansas City Star and other things, and pulled these players because I thought that they matched the Chiefs' offense and the Chiefs' scheme overall as a team very, very well. So up first, we have got the round 1 trade up section. And when I say that these picks, or these 4 players I have written down, only I think one of them will actually fall to the Chiefs. There's been some players that have been falling down in the draft, and I think if any of these players get into the 25 pick range, and some of the other players that the Chiefs were looking for, like if there's a high graded tackle, like one of these tackles I'm going to talk about here in a minute, gets drafted inside the top 16 for some reason, or the top 20 for some reason, and one of these other players fall within the 24, 25, 26 pick range where the Chiefs can trade up, I feel like they would do this. Now, a lot of people have thought that the Chiefs' edge rushing room isn't exactly the greatest, and it doesn't have exactly the greatest young blood. Now, me personally, I think our edge rushing room is fantastic. We have FAU, who's probably going to have a breakout season this year. I would love to see that. If he doesn't, call me a liar. But I do think that FAU, Felix Anudike Uzama, is going to have a fantastic season this year for the Chiefs. And so is good old George Karlaftis from Purdue. He's going to have a fantastic season. We saw him start to dominate last year in the playoffs. And I think that our edge rushing room is great, especially with Charles Omenihu. He's wanting to have a breakout season as well. And Chris Jones is always going to be anchoring it down in the D-line in the middle, at least for now, unless he kicks outside here and then. He's at least got, I think, 2 more years on the Chiefs before we say adios, Chris Jones. However, if this were to happen, I would be jumping up and down for joy. Now, this was kind of just a pick in the draft that I took, just seeing. He's probably going to go top 15, but if he for some unknown reason fall to pick 24, I would take edge rusher out of Marshall, Mike Green. Now, Mike Green led the FBS or college football in sacks last season with 17 sacks. That's a lot of sacks, especially in college. This kid is just a monster. I mean, he's not the biggest guy. He's like 6'3", 6'4", around that range, like 260 some pounds. But he's fast. He's fast. He's quick. He's got that elite block shedding, and he's got elite just gap responsibilities as an edge rusher. Fantastic. He can kick out the linebacker if you need to. I'm looking at this guy kind of like a Micah Parsons when it comes to his athleticism and when it comes to how dominant he is against other tackles and guards when he plays on the D line. I'm looking at more of a Myles Garrett type of player. Mike Green is one of a kind player in this draft, and if he falls into the 20s, I would see the Chiefs trade up and get that man. Now, obviously that's probably not going to happen, but I'd love to see it happen. The first player I have in this trade-up section, other than edge rusher Mike Green, is offensive tackle Josh Simmons out of Ohio State. Let's just say the offensive tackles, depending on how the board lays and how it falls out and, goes out, offensive tackles might be running out of the draft like water. I mean, there's a lot of great options this season, but if offensive tackle Josh Simmons is at pick 24 and the Texans think that they're going to get him at like pick 25 or 26, wherever the Texans are, I do think the Chiefs will trade up and get Josh Simmons, especially if his medical records and his other medical issues show up that he's clear and good to go. I think the Chiefs have been really high on Josh Simmons and that they're going to take the risk when they can get it, and they're going to trade up and get this guy. I feel like that's the most logical option. There's another great option. So, let's see. You have offensive tackles. Let's say they're just flying off the board. Josh Simmons goes at like pick 19 or something like that. You have another good guard. I think the number one guard in the draft, offensive guard from North Dakota State, Gray Zabel. He's 6'6", 312 pounds of pure muscle. No, I'm kidding. I wish he was, but he is a massive guard. In college, he has played every position except for center. He has started multiple games at left tackle, left guard, and right guard. He is a very experienced lineman, and you can plug and put him anywhere. If he were to go around like pick 26, and let's just say Josh Simmons and a couple of other tackles are off the board, I think the Chiefs take Gray Zabel because he's big. He's got decent-sized arms. He's not the longest arms, but he can definitely play guard, and he can also play tackle if you need to. Now, that being said, he's a fantastic option, but the Chiefs obviously want to tackle first. If you can't get the tackle, settle for the guard. Another player that the Chiefs have been mocked to take at pick 31 somehow. I don't know how this happened. A lot of offensive tackles and guards and edge rushers and defensive tackles in this mock draft that I was looking at flew off the boards really quickly just to leave the number one wide receiver on the board from Arizona, Tedoroya McMillan. ESPN has him listed as 6'4". Other sources have him listed as 6'5". He's in that range. He's a big, big boy. He is very, very good at his deep route running, very good at getting 50-50 balls, or he's very good at going up and catching them, I'd hope, because he's 6'5". But Tedoroya McMillan, if he were to fall like pick 27, I'd say, and there's no other offensive tackles or guards that the Chiefs didn't trade up for, he could be a possible trade-up candidate, seeing that they always love to get Mahomes offensive weapons. However, if I'm the Chiefs, I wouldn't necessarily do this unless I'm kind of being forced my hand to, because if offensive tackles and offensive guards and defensive tackles that you don't really like have already been taken off the board, and you have Tedoroya McMillan sitting there staring you at the face at pick 31, you obviously take him. But this would be more of a situation of it's like, you've had a workout with Tedoroya McMillan, and he's at pick 29 or pick 30, and you just go out and get him. Next, we have sit and pick. Now, these sit and pick players are players that I think the Chiefs could sit at pick 31 and go, okay, I want that guy, and they're probably going to be there. Granted, I don't know how the board's going to fall out, but it's very possible that these players could go before this because they're very, very talented, or after this in the early second round. Just depends. I've got a list of like 4 or 5 of them right here. Okay, so the first one, offensive tackle from Oregon, Josh. No, excuse me, sorry. Yeah, Josh Connerly Jr., offensive tackle from Oregon, 6'5", 311 pounds. This guy has got great explosion off the line, great quickness. He was the fastest and quickest, most agile tackle listed in the combine. He also mirrors very well. So he mirrors defensive ends very, very well. He's hard to get around. He's a very, very good, solid tackle, and he has been for Oregon for the last couple of years. Now, Josh Connerly Jr. might also be taken in, earlier in the first round, but who knows. Next on this list, I have, if you sit at pick 31, and let's say Josh Connerly Jr. is not on the board, you take wide receiver from Mizzou, Luther Burden. Now, Luther Burden has got amazing foot speed. Also, another great deep route runner who runs posts very, very well. If you look at the tape, he's also got really decently good and good-sized hands. However, he does need to work on cutting faster and some other things that the critics have criticized him for. However, he does plant his foot really, really well, and he also is very, very good at sharp cutting routes, even though he's not the fastest out of his break. Very, very good receiver. And yeah, this past season, he kind of lacked the stats that you should see out of a wide receiver going in the first round of the NFL draft. But that's why you could probably pick him at pick 31, and I don't think anybody would be upset about it. So, with that being said, next we go on to defensive tackle from Ole Miss, Walter Nolan. Now, Walter Nolan, you could easily sit at pick 31 and go, okay, we don't have a tackle option. We don't have a wide receiver that we have a first-round grade on. What about Walter Nolan? Walter Nolan, a very, very good defensive tackle, very, very solid defensive tackle at Ole Miss. 6'4", 296 pounds. He is outstanding when it comes to run defense. He fills his gap well. He has a very, very high ceiling as a defensive tackle. He's very quick. He's very explosive off the line. And he's very, very good at just filling his gap in his responsibility. He also racked up 6.5 sacks this past season. And I believe it was like 14.5 tackles for loss this past season. So he's very, very good at just stuffing the run game. And that's something the Chiefs could definitely use alongside Chris Jones. Chris Jones is definitely a run stuffer, and he's also very good at getting after the quarterback. So is Walter Nolan. Walter Nolan also was in the top 5, leading the FBS in quarterback pressures this past season. There's a lot of great in Walter Nolan. He's no Mike Green, but he's a big boy, and I'd love to see this pick as well. Next, I got a little bit of a wild card here. Let's just say, for some unknown reason, okay, only one quarterback gets taken. Only one running back gets taken, okay? We're talking about Cam Ward and Ashton Jeanty only get taken. We got, like, 2 tight ends, a bunch of tackles, a bunch of edge rushers. And, no defensive talent, no more defensive tackle talent, which would be crazy. We're talking, like, 4 or 5 teams taking defensive tackles, which probably will not happen. Most certainly will not happen. But if all that happened, let's just say some corners flew off the board as well. You had Will Johnson fly off. You had that one Texas corner off the board. Travis Hunter's obviously going to be off the board at this point. One corner that I wouldn't mind if the Chiefs, let's just say they actually trade back into early of round 2 and pick this guy, or they sit at pick 31 and go, you know what, we don't have a round 1 grade on this guy, but he's a very good corner. Kind of gave it away. But corner out of Kentucky, Maxwell Hairston. Maxwell Hairston is 5'11", okay, 180-some pounds. Okay, he's a good corner. He's physical for his size. He definitely could be more physical, and he definitely could be bigger. He's very fast, very agile. He had a 4.28 40-yard dash at the combine. Very, very good. At a very good 10-yard split as well. He's very good at breaking on the ball. Very good at picking the ball off. I believe his career in Kentucky, he had 4 pick sixes, and when he gets the ball in his hands, he's very, very talented. However, he is a corner. He's not a wide receiver. It would be an interesting pick. However, probably early second round, they would probably trade back for that pick, but it just depends on how the board falls. That's just an interesting pick for me. He could also be in this next category, but I wanted to get some other players that I felt like could actually hit this category more often than he could. The remaining top 100 picks, now there's 3 remaining picks for the Chiefs after pick 31. You have pick 63, 66, which they got from L'Jarius Sneed, and pick 95. All of them are in round 2 and 3. So you have a late round 2 pick, an early round 3, and a late round 3 pick. So, with that being said, I have about 4 players that I feel like could fit the criteria that we really, really want in this category. So, the first one, let's say the Chiefs take Josh Simmons, number 1. Like, their number 1 on their draft board is Josh Simmons. They get Josh Simmons at 31. Okay? Let's say that happens. And then let's say they miss out on a defensive tackle. Okay? They miss out on a defensive tackle. You're looking probably at a wide receiver at this point, seeing that the defensive tackle talent probably by the end of the second round is probably hit the tank, because a lot of teams, seeing that this is a deep defensive line draft class in general, will be picking defensive line all the time. I could see them going, or at least I hope people see this receiver and go, wow, this guy actually has a lot of talent and actually had a really good year. Wide receiver out of Maryland, Ty Felton. Now, he is 6'1", 183 pounds, so he's a little bit bigger than the average, like 5'10", 5'11" receiver that the Chiefs have liked to draft in the last couple of years, other than, Rashee Rice over here. But Ty Felton was very, very good. He ran a 4.37 40 at the combine, so he's pretty fast. He's a fast guy. He had 96 catches for 1,124 yards and 9 touchdowns for Maryland. He was very, very good at taking the top off the backside of the defense. Very good at tracking the deep ball. I can't explain to you how well he is at tracking the deep ball. The talent is there. He just needs it kind of, shaped just a little bit. But Ty Felton, a good receiver. He's actually kind of physical for how little he is, but he's a very good receiver, and I do see him going mid to late second round at the latest, and I do think the Chiefs could definitely take this guy in the second round, and he'd be way better than Sky Moore is. All right. Next, let's just say the defensive tackle talent has, it's gone down, but there's still a couple of decent players. Somebody I could see the Chiefs taking in this top 103 remaining picks is defensive tackle out of Nebraska, Ty Robinson. Now, Ty Robinson, 6'5", 288 pounds. This guy ran a fast 40-yard dash, a 4.84, I believe is what it was. Very, very fast for a defensive tackle. I mean, almost faster than Patrick Mahomes, or it might be faster than Patrick Mahomes. This guy is huge. I mean, 6'5", 288 pounds, and he ran a 4.84 out 40-yard dash. He's athletic. He's very explosive off the line. He's a very good, elite gap crusher. I don't know how else to say it, guys. He's very elite at filling the gap. He's a very good defensive tackle. He had very good stats last year with Nebraska. Over the last couple of seasons, he's been Nebraska's great anchor on that defensive line. I'd love to see the Chiefs take this guy. He's a very athletic, good gap responsibility defensive tackle, and he's huge. He's 6'5". I mean, this guy's crazy. Another great elite defensive player that I have on this list that the Chiefs could take in the top 100 picks is none other than linebacker from UCLA, Carson Schwarzenegger. Now, this guy is the biggest, by far the biggest linebacker in this draft class, standing at 6'3", 242 pounds. You don't see very many good linebackers like that in draft classes anymore. They're normally a little bit shorter, and they're really good at pass coverage. Well, this guy, 6'3", 242 pounds, one of the best coverage linebackers, if not the best coverage linebacker in this draft class. He's also got a very high motor. He's very physical, and he's very, very quick to the run game. Very, very good, if not elite change of direction. I see this linebacker. He's ranked 3rd as linebacker. If the Chiefs take him at pick 31 of the second round, which would be pick, pick 36? Or pick 63, excuse me. I would love this pick. I mean, absolutely fantastic. He fits the defensive scheme of Steve Spagnuolo to a T. This man would be fantastic on the defense, especially since we don't have a lot of longevity or long-standing players at the linebacker position. You have Nick Bolton locked down for at least the next 2 years, if not 3 years, depending on how his contract shakes out. And other than that, you don't really have a lot of depth. I mean, we got rid of Willie Gay Jr. not that long ago, and our linebacker depth is kind of like gone down. But if we get this guy out of UCLA, he'd be fantastic and great in the run defense. And as well, he would replace Nick Bolton in the nickel sets on pass coverages, so that way we wouldn't have an Antonio Brown wide open touchdown in the Super Bowl. Pardon me. But next, my next pick, if the Chiefs were to pick this guy, third round-ish, I would be fine with that as well. This guy, running back out of Ohio State, Quinshon Judkins. This guy is an athletic freak. I don't care what anybody says. He ran a 4.440 in the combine. His ball carrier vision is elite. Great at handling the ball. I know he had a couple of weird fumbles this past season, but he was on the championship Ohio State team. He's an underrated running back in this draft class, and I think if the Chiefs get him, they can easily make a great running back out of this man. I don't know how Isaiah Pacheco is going to fare this next year. Nobody really knows. I mean, he was a 7th round draft pick, so if we move on from him, we move on from him. I hope we don't. I hope Isaiah Pacheco's the guy for right now. But right now we got Elijah Mitchell and Kareem Hunt coming back for that running back room, and we also have Carson Steele still. He's still a rookie. But Isaiah Pacheco's going to need to be getting paid, and if he doesn't perform like, over 1,000 yards this season, I don't see him getting paid by the Chiefs. I think he's going to go somewhere else, even though I'd want him to stay in Kansas City. But Quinshon Judkins, a great player. He's also pretty good in the pass game. He's pretty good at catching the passes. He's not the best, but he's at least serviceable in that regard. So when Mahomes scrambles out to his left and flips it last second while his running back's on the ground, he can most definitely probably stand up and catch that ball. Next, we have later picks. Now, these are some of the picks where it's like 4 to 7 round picks, and, we only have a few of those. But I think that some of these players could end up being really, really good. One player I have on here is another running back out of K-State, DJ Giddens. He had a 10-foot, 10-inch broad jump, and he ran a 4.4 340. He has elite ball carrier vision, and he can also break off a giant chunk play when needed. I've seen this man break off so many big runs. I didn't think he was the fastest, but apparently he slimmed down and got faster for the NFL Combine and for the NFL Draft. This man I thought was running more like a 4.5, but no, low 4.4, great physical runner. He's not afraid to run between the A and the B gap. He is not afraid to take contact, and this guy can also make you miss. Sorry, Shiloh Sanders, you broke your ankles. I don't even want to hear it. But DJ Giddens, fantastic running back. I'm a little biased, but he's a really good running back out of K-State. Another good running back I could mention here is Devin Neal out of Kansas. He's also very, very shifty, and he's a very just decent, well-rounded running back overall. He could definitely go into a good system where catching the football is a great thing for him as like maybe into a slot receiver type position as running back. But I digress. Next, we got another wide receiver. I just love the Feltons today. Wide receiver out of Virginia Tech, Daquan Felton. Now, Daquan Felton is kind of special because if you've known anything about the Chiefs, they've been taking smaller-ish receivers the last couple of seasons. Well, I'm saying if you take a chance on this man, he might become an all-pro. He's 6'5", 213 pounds. This guy is great at getting 50-50 balls.
I'd hope so because he's 6'5".
But anyways, very, very good at running deep routes. He's got decent hands. He can't be trusted, apparently, with his hands, according to ESPN, but that's kind of dumb, in my opinion. He's hard to tackle in the open field. I would hope so, because he's a monster wide receiver. But he doesn't exactly have the greatest numbers in college. He's battled some injuries. But if you spend a 5th-round pick on him, it's not the end of the world. And I think he could actually develop into something very, very nice and very good for this Chiefs offense, seeing that we need a big physical wide receiver. Juju Smith-Schuster's been that for us for the last year or so now, and even before he departed for the Patriots last year, the year before that, and the year before that, he was also a very serviceable, large wide receiver that could get open on just short in-cutting or out-cutting routes for the Chiefs. Need this wide receiver. Absolute need. I would love to see this guy get drafted in the 5th round. Next, we got a corner, which I think is actually one of the lower graded corners in this draft class, but I look at it and I see the tape and I go, well, why? This guy's like 6th on the draft board for corners, and he could be really, really good. I'm saying this is like a 4th-round pick option for the Chiefs. Darren Porter out of Iowa State, 6'3", 6'3" at corner. He's one of the tallest corners, if not the tallest corner in this draft class, standing at 195 pounds. He ran a 4.3 flat 40, the 3rd fastest 40 combine time this year. He also is very, very good at press coverage. He's very, very strong. He's a very good physical, tough corner. He's 6'3". I mean, come on. How could this get any better? The Chiefs need outside corners, especially because this upcoming season, there's going to be players that have been playing corner for a while, like Williams, that are going to be coming up for contracts, and they might just be saying goodbye if we draft this player, because he is absolutely a stud out of Iowa State. Former wide receiver, converted to corner in 2022, and by the way, just this past season at the start of 2024, he finally got the starting job for Iowa State, cornerback number 1, and he's been absolutely fantastic. Now, I have a couple of safeties to round out this episode, but before I do, I thank you for listening, and I thank you for paying attention to my podcast. You know, it's been kind of a rough couple of weeks. I've been to D.C. a lot. I say a lot. I was at D.C. for 2 days for Honor Flight. If you don't know what that is, go check out my last video. I did a special edition presentation at the beginning of that, saying that the video at this current time only has 4 views. So could you please go check out that video before continuing on to finish the rest of this video? I would much appreciate it. I get that it's long, but you can skip to the end to see who I ended up taking with the Chiefs at pick 31. I'm not going to spoil that for you because you need to go watch it. And I thank you for watching that. Please like and subscribe. Now, on the safeties, I have 2 safeties that are pretty good. One is a big physical guy, and one's a shorter, stockier safety that is a hard-hitting son of a gun, which that is none other than Kansas State safety Marquis Siegel. He absolutely showed out at the Senior Bowl. He was absolutely amazing. He's 5'11" and 199 pounds. He plays like he's 6'3", 250. I mean, I know 250 is kind of huge, but this guy can hit hard. I've never seen a safety in college in the current past 5 years. We're not going back to Ed Reed because that guy was a freak and he's a Hall of Famer. I've not seen a safety hit harder than this man in the last couple of seasons. I mean, he knows how to run down gaps and pound wide receivers that run RPOs and other routes just like that, or just a wide receiver screen route. He's all over those. He's also all over in the run game. He can stack up in the box nicely as another outside linebacker, and he's really good in coverage, obviously because he's a safety. But Marquis Siegel, absolutely amazing. I would love to see the Chiefs take him in the 6th round. I wouldn't mind that at all. Somebody else who they most definitely could take in the 5th or 6th round is another safety, Malik Verdon from Iowa State. This man is big, he's physical, he's strong. He's probably the biggest and physicalest, strongest safety in the draft class. And you go, Graham, why is that? Because he's 6'4", 218 pounds at strong safety. He's very, very good at lining up in the box, just like Marquis Siegel. He plays big and physical, just like Marquis Siegel. He's great downhill. I mean, he is an elite downhill runner. He does miss a couple of open field tackles, but you put that man in the box and he can hammer the running back, and he'd be a very good draft option. And that's all I got for you guys today. I thank you for listening to my podcast, whether you're outside working or you're sitting at home. I appreciate you, and I'll see you next week.